There is a clear unwillingness to sack Erik Ten Hag from Ineos. Welcome to the United Road Sport. My name is Webb. Here is an update on the manager's situation now. Sky Sports have just broken. I don't know whether that's breaking. The news to them that's breaking. That's how they called it. That Ineos are getting to the final stages of their review, and a decision will be expected not later than next week on whether Erik Ten Hag is leaving or not. Honestly, I wouldn't say that's news. Some of these media houses are just trying to create stories out of nothing, but I think that's something we already known. But for me, here is the update that I think will get many of you believing some of the things I tell you from my sources, because there's things I've observed. I've told you things weeks ago, and they do come later on. And when you see them from Fabrizio or someone, that's when you believe them. I'm not saying that I've got better sources than Fabrizio, but I'm saying that there are certain sources I have of mine, and they've been telling me stuff. Now, here's one that there is a clear reluctance to sack Erik Ten Hag without a clear plan to appoint a replacement. While numerous managers have been linked, Ineos want to make sure that if they do decide to change, it is to make the right appointment rather than changing for the sake of it. This is according to a one gentleman called Tyrone Marshall, Marshall, who is followed by Fabrizio Romano. That is important, but that shows you he has some credibility to him. But he's also a senior football writer at Manchester United Evening News. Now, this guy has made this report, and again, the same guy mentions Gary Southgate. Yesterday, in my video in the evening, I think it was my evening or mid afternoon video, when I told you about a theory. This for me, I called it my theory, and I was saying that probably these guys are trying to hold out for Gary Southgate, because remember, we've been talking about for a long time since Ineos came through. We are talking about how Ineos favored Gary Southgate, and I took time to try and explain to you what their thought process could have been in zeroing down on Gary Southgate, who clearly got bad backlash, terrible backlash from many United supporter. But talking about how him and Dan Ashworth were responsible for the England DNA, and what we see now that could even yield a title, because people feel that England are odds-on favourites to win the Euros, but also has produced, I think, the best talent we've seen in England since the David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Michael Carrick, and Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard generation. So this guy, in the eyes of Ineos, because Man United is in a state where English football was at some time, and it is Dan Ashworth and Gary Southgate who are credited for rebuilding English football to what we see now by forming that England DNA. Now, and that has yielded a title for the ladies' team. It has led them to the semi-final of the World Cup, and then the final of the Euros, and now they are favourites to many to win the Euros. So it's certainly, that was the understanding that I believe Ineos had. But right now, as we speak, it is clear that Ineos are reluctant. They are unwilling to make a decision on Erik Ten Hag, to let go of him, because they are unsure of what could happen. And reports again, this gentleman is saying that because they are mostly worried that they can't access their favored guy, that is Gary Southgate. And because of that, they are saying they cannot really be quick to make a decision on Ineos. For me, that show speaks to one thing, and that's what I've been talking about. It also, this same guy goes on to talk about what I spoke about, the too many cooks spoiling the broth, that Dave Brailsford and certain members of Ineos are for Gary Southgate, whereas Jean-Claude Blanc is for Erik Ten Hag being kept. The division in Ineos. So you have so many heads, but they can't come together to a conclusive decision in time. So for me, it shows me a problem that we are realizing with Ineos, which I think is worrying. It's bad. It's a bad problem to see, because if you're coming in as the savior, like I would say, Ineos should be the savior for Man United. You should know what you want to do, and you should stick to your plan. It's very bad to go into a war without a plan, or if you have a plan, because you had a few bombs, exploding, you veer off your plan. That shows you are not sure of your plan. It shows that you are not sure of your plan from the start, and it's a sign of weakness. Already, I believe, for me, Ineos have lost. If it's a game of if it's a football match, Ineos are losing 3-0 at halftime against Man City, against Arsenal, against Chelsea now, who were, I think, almost close to where we are, but already are unveiling players. They unveiled Tosin. My thinking is Ineos are showing a weakness, which is not good. And they might first take us a bit deeper. Maybe over time they will get us out of the ditch. But maybe they have taken a couple of steps back, and maybe it's necessary because at times, if you're going to come up, you need to take. If you're going to sprint, you need to take a few steps back, set yourself, and then take off. And then you'll be able to have the energy to thrust you until the finish line. But my feeling is that Ineos are showing a weakness. The lack of a direction, the lack of a decision with Erik Ten Hag now, and the reports we are beginning to see suggesting that they are divided. One, they seem to be divided on whether to keep him or not. Two, the unwillingness, the reluctance to make a decision on the manager is a weakness. And even in the eyes of Erik Ten Hag, I'm thinking he must be going. Probably he's losing the fire. Erik Ten Hag clearly showed us the fire, even if he had issues. The only reason Erik Ten Hag was manager of Man United up to the end of the season, besides the money, of course, he has a job, it's the fire is is because he had the fire to prove a point. But I feel like right now Erik Ten Hag must be feeling that I've proved myself that even with all the issues we've had in this team in this season, the injuries, the rot around the club, I can be able to work through this turmoil and get things and get a trophy, deliver the second of perhaps traditionally the most important trophy in global football, the FA Cup title. So he must be losing his fire now. The fire in the belly might not be there anymore. He must be also looking at Ineos and thinking, the guys I thought are sure of what you're doing. Because if Ineos sacked Erik Ten Hag, even if Erik Ten Hag wouldn't like it, he will know that these guys came with a plan and they will be stuck to their plan. My fear is the weaknesses that Ineos are showing now are going to kill the fire for everyone, for the manager, whether they stay with him or not, for whichever new manager they bring in, whether it's Mauricio Pochettino or Southgate eventually, even if it's Zinedine Zidane. And with Zinedine Zidane, I'm not sure I would go in and work with this in uncertainty, with his pride. I don't see him coming to work for this Ineos. Even if it's Thomas Tuchel, whichever manager they bring in will come in with a little bit of doubt in the people behind him, because they have shown weaknesses that for me I don't think are good for them, but eventually they are destructive to Manchester United. The players themselves we are trying to sign, because Man United's rebuild cannot be made entirely on the youngsters. Even if we have an exciting academy, we need to bring in players. But the uncertainty with Ineos, the lack of a clear plan with Ineos, because if someone has a clear plan, you would see it. You can see now that Todd Bowley at Chelsea has a clear plan. He made a decision on Pochettino, sacked him, brought in a guy who clearly the contract they have given him. It shows you they are trying to build something new for the future. They are trying to bring in someone who is going to be a head coach, work under their structure. With Erik Ten Hag and Man United, with Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, you clearly saw they had a plan. They stuck with him when they had to, backed him, gave him players, gave him a proper technical director. They had a direction, stuck with him, stood by him, and they had a plan. Ineos have come in, and by this time, honestly, and I'm not saying they should have already made things, decisions, certain things, clear, signed players. I think by this time, honestly, we should have seen a direction, a plan within Ineos, but clearly they are scattered. And that's a weakness. It's a sign of weakness. We are going to go into war next season, and trust you me, we will be bullied by these clubs because they see that there's been a change of guards, but the new guys, the new sheriffs in town don't have a game plan. That is a poor plan. We are just poaching guys from other clubs, from Man City, from this club. So if we can't bring in Ashworth in time, we are stuck. Is that the plan? Was the plan to destroy other clubs but not have your own progress? It's about, was the plan to listen to the supporters? Because right now, even if they might have wanted to sack Erik Ten Hag like it clearly was the case before, right now because of the fans' uproar, they are stuck and they're undecided, and their indecision is costing the club. So how are you going to trust that? If you're a player, would you want to go into that when Chelsea has a clear project going on? You see what they're doing. Arsenal has a project. Liverpool has a project. For me, I think Ineos are losing. It's a 3-0 loss at halftime. Now that's not done because we are Man United. We've come back from 4-0 losses before and won games convincingly, and that's what we are. We are a last-minute team. That's what we've been known to be. I think the most exciting Man United games this season were games we overturned in the last minutes and won in the final minute of added time. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson made us used to. So maybe we can still hope on that yes, it's a 3-0 loss at the start, but it can be overturned into a victory. But I'll tell you, it's not looking good at all for Ineos because of their indecision and lack, most importantly, lack of a plan. They do not seem to have a proper plan. They were confusing young managers, calling them in meetings and then not making a decision. It's not good. People will lose trust in the whole project. And when everyone outside loses the trust you me, even the players, even the staff within will lose the trust. That for me is a worrying thing. I needed to raise that red flag because, guys, the things I've been saying here are beginning to be manifested. I spoke about the Casemiro issue with Erik Ten Hag and the FA Cup final. Many of you didn't want to believe it. I spoke about this guy Southgate and maybe probably the reason why Ineos are delaying. I spoke about the too many chefs causing indecision in Ineos. Things are now beginning to look glaring. But the loser in all this is Man United. But Ineos will take all the flack. The Glazers will be chilling in Miami and sipping on their champagne because they got their money, sold, relinquished the football authority, but the man they brought in is probably as clueless as they were. And again, people will go back to Sheikh Jassim, full sale, and we go back and forth. That's not where we want to be. But again, it's early days to make conclusions. I'm just pointing out things I'm seeing. I might be wrong, things might change, but I'm pointing out what I see. That's what I do and reacting to it. My name is Webb. This is the Net Health Sport. Let me know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust Ineos? This video is powered by Uplift Causes, www.upliftcauses.org. Go visit it, that website, but also Uplift Causes on YouTube and check out the work they do in terms of helping young people in Africa with their mental health. This is a mental health month, and certainly we've got to take mental health seriously because your life depends on your mental health. Don't you just, think about it like it's only your physical health that's important. Mental health is everything. So take care of it like your life depends on it because actually it does depend on it. My name is Webb. Subscribe to the Net Health Sport. I'll catch you later.